He was a billionaire used to control. She was the only one who dared to challenge him. But beneath her defiance hid a secret that would change his life forever. She handed him his morning coffee without meeting his eyes. "Anything else, Mr. Vale?" He wanted to say her name. To ask why her voice trembled when she spoke to him. But instead, he nodded, pretending not to notice the emotion behind her silence, never knowing it was love she was trying to hide. If this story resonated with you, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because, tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as crazy as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. The city glittered beneath the glass walls of Vale Tower, a monument to ambition and isolation. Inside the top floor, Ethan Vale stood by his window, watching rain smear the skyline like a restless artist blurring his own masterpiece. His reflection stared back, sharp suit, colder eyes. He didn't remember the last time he smiled and meant it. He adjusted his cufflinks as the intercom buzzed softly. "Mr. Vale," came a voice, smooth, low, precise. Amara's voice. "Your 9 o'clock presentation files are ready. Would you like me to bring them in?" Ethan paused before answering, his hand tightening slightly on the glass of water beside him. "Yes. Bring them." She entered moments later, moving with the calm precision of someone who had learned never to waste a single gesture. Her navy suit was immaculate, her hair braided neatly, her eyes focused but unreadable. When she placed the folder on his desk, he caught a faint scent of jasmine, fleeting, like a memory. "You're late," he said, though she wasn't. He didn't know why he said it, maybe because silence between them had grown too loud. Her eyes flickered up for a fraction of a second. "The printer jammed on the last page," she said evenly. "I stayed to fix it." Ethan nodded curtly, but the words "thank you" stuck in his throat. He never thanked employees. Gratitude, to him, was a weakness they might mistake for attachment. Amara turned to leave. "Louis," he said suddenly. She froze, hand on the door. "Yes, sir." His gaze softened, barely. "You've been distracted lately. Is everything all right?" She almost smiled, but stopped herself. "I assure you, Mr. Vale, my work hasn't suffered." "That's not what I asked." She hesitated. For a moment, her mask cracked, her lips parted like she might actually say something true. But then she inhaled, composed herself again, and said, "Everything's fine, sir." And she left. Ethan exhaled slowly, frustrated without knowing why. Her tone had been polite, her posture professional, yet something in her distance burned. He turned back to the skyline. "You hate me, don't you, Louis?" he muttered under his breath. "You all do." Across the building, Amara walked into the elevator, pulse still pounding. The doors slid shut, and the brave, cool woman she showed the world slipped away, leaving behind someone soft, trembling, and tired of pretending. "Everything's fine," she whispered bitterly. "Liar." Her reflection in the elevator doors stared back, dark skin glowing faintly under fluorescent light, eyes tired from sleepless nights. Ethan Vale thought she hated him. Everyone did. She'd heard the whispers, the Ice Queen assistant, the untouchable one. If only they knew the truth. If only he knew. She pressed her hand to her chest, as if to still the ache there. Every morning she watched him, the way he stood so tall, so sure, as if the world owed him distance. She admired him more than she should, loved him far more than she dared. But love, she had learned, could destroy careers faster than incompetence. Later that morning, she sat at her desk outside his office, typing reports as the hum of city life thrummed through the windows. Her phone buzzed, a message from her friend, Nyla. "Nyla, Girl, you working yourself to death again? Amara, trying not to. Nyla, still got that mean boss? The fine one with no soul? Amara smirked in spite of herself. He's not mean. Just, closed off. Nyla, you defending him again? I swear, you got a problem. Amara set the phone down, shaking her head. She didn't have a problem. She had a secret. That evening, the office emptied one by one, but Ethan remained, as always. He worked late, perfection was his only religion. Through the glass walls, he saw Amara still at her desk, head bowed over her computer, typing quietly. He frowned. She should have gone home hours ago. When he finally stepped out, he found her rubbing her temple, the blue glow of her screen soft against her skin. Louis, he said gently this time. It's past 9. I just wanted to finish. You can finish tomorrow. She blinked at the rare warmth in his voice. Since when do you care about my schedule, Mr. Vale? He almost smiled. Since I realized you might outwork me. For a moment, silence stretched, not cold, but fragile. Something like humor softened her expression, and Ethan felt the strangest pull in his chest. But then she stood, gathering her things. Don't worry, sir. I know my place. Her words cut deeper than she intended. Ethan watched her walk away, that same invisible wall rising between them again, one built of class, color, power, and pride. He stood in the empty hallway long after she was gone, the scent of jasmine lingering like a ghost. He didn't understand her. He didn't understand why her silence affected him more than anyone's words. He only knew that when she looked at him, it felt like she saw everything he was hiding, and that terrified him. Have you ever hidden how you truly felt because you feared being misunderstood, or rejected? What happened? Share your thoughts in the comments. The next morning began with tension. The Vale Enterprises boardroom was filled with suits, ambition, and unspoken hierarchy. Ethan sat at the head of the long glass table, every movement deliberate, his authority absolute. Amara stood by the projector, her laptop open, voice steady as she walked the board through quarterly projections. This strategy, she said, clicking to the next slide, reduces operating costs by 11% while maintaining regional employment. It's sustainable and ethical. The room nodded, all except one man. Gerald Wayne, one of the senior partners, smirked. That's cute, he said, adjusting his tie. But do we really need a lecture on ethics from someone who's never managed a billion-dollar division? Amara froze for a second. Her lips parted, but no words came. Ethan looked up from his notes, eyes narrowing. I think Ms. Lewis's data speaks for itself, he said coolly. Gerald chuckled. Sure, Ethan, but come on, this is corporate finance, not a charity. We need profit, not philosophy. A hush fell. Amara's pulse pounded. She could feel every eye in the room on her skin, not on her work, but on her. Ethan's voice cut through the silence, low and precise. Gerald, if you want to question her analysis, do it professionally. Otherwise, I suggest you keep your commentary relevant. The words landed like steel. Gerald shifted uncomfortably. Just saying, she's. Ethan's tone sharpened. Enough. No one spoke after that. Amara finished the presentation, her composure restored, though her hands trembled slightly as she clicked the final slide. When it ended, she muttered, "Thank you," and left the room without looking back. Ethan watched her go, jaw tight. Minutes later, he found her standing by the coffee station, her hands braced against the counter. She didn't turn when he approached. You didn't have to do that, she said quietly. Do what? Defend me like that. It just makes things harder. He frowned. He was out of line. She exhaled, shaking her head. This isn't about him. It's about perception. Now everyone will think I needed you to save me. Maybe you did, he said before he could stop himself. Her head snapped up, eyes flashing. Excuse me? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I meant, look, Louis, I'm your boss. It's my job to protect my team. Protect? She laughed bitterly. You think I need protecting, Mr. Vale? You think I got here because I needed someone to rescue me? Ethan opened his mouth but stopped. The fire in her eyes, raw, beautiful, pained, caught him completely off guard. I worked twice as hard to stand in that room, she continued, voice trembling. Every number, every slide, I built that with my own hands. And you think because you defended me, you're some kind of savior? I never said that, he murmured. You didn't have to. Her voice cracked on the last word, and she turned away quickly. Ethan saw the smallest tear fall before she could wipe it. He reached out instinctively but stopped midair, hand hovering inches from her shoulder. Amara. The sound of her name on his lips was soft, unguarded, the first time he'd ever said it. She froze. Then, without turning, she whispered, Don't. Don't what? Don't be kind to me when you don't mean it. Ethan stepped back, startled. What makes you think I don't? She turned then, meeting his gaze for the first time. Because you don't look at me like you see me, Mr. Vale. You look at me like you're trying not to. The air between them grew electric, full of everything unspoken. He wanted to say something, anything, but all the old rules clawed at his throat: professionalism, restraint, control. Finally, she exhaled shakily. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. He shook his head. No. You should have. She blinked. What? He smiled faintly, just once, just enough to feel it hurt. I think you're the first person in years who's told me the truth to my face. Amara stared at him, unsure whether to feel flattered or furious. Then you must not listen much. He almost laughed, almost. Maybe I haven't been listening to the right people. The tension softened just enough for her to breathe again. Then the elevator dinged. The moment was gone. She gathered her composure like armor and said quietly, Your next meeting is in 10 minutes. He nodded. Right. She turned to go. Louis, he said suddenly. She stopped. You were right in there. About everything. Her eyes softened, just for a heartbeat. Good night, Mr. Vale. And she was gone again. That night, Ethan stayed late in his office, replaying her words in his mind. You don't look at me like you see me. He poured himself a drink, staring at the amber swirl in the glass. He didn't understand why those words hurt more than they should have. Because maybe she was right. He had built a life of walls, marble, glass, money, all to protect himself from caring. But for the first time in years, someone had looked through the cracks. And he couldn't stop thinking about her. Across the city, Amara sat in her apartment, staring out her window at the same skyline. The city's hum felt different tonight, heavier, quieter. She thought about his face when he'd said her name, Amara. No one said it like that, hesitant, reverent, real. Her heart betrayed her, thudding harder at the memory. Stop it, she whispered to herself. He's your boss. He doesn't see you like that. But she couldn't lie, not to herself. She saw the man behind the billionaire, the tired one hiding behind control. And it terrified her how much she wanted to reach him. Have you ever misread someone's intentions, only to realize later they were trying to protect you, not hurt you? What did that moment teach you? The next few days passed in uneasy silence. Ethan and Amara exchanged words only when necessary, every interaction wrapped in polite frost. The air between them had changed, too heavy with what neither dared to acknowledge. Ethan buried himself in work, reviewing contracts that didn't need reviewing, signing things his assistant could have handled. Anything to keep from thinking about that moment, the look in her eyes when she told him he didn't see her. But he did see her now. Too clearly. Every time she walked into his office, he noticed the subtle curve of her hand on the notepad, the faint crease of exhaustion at the corner of her mouth. He caught himself listening for her footsteps in the hall. And every time he did, shame followed close behind. She's your employee. Stop it. He told himself it was just misplaced curiosity, nothing more. But it wasn't. He was a man who could buy anything, except the right to want her. For Amara, pretending nothing had changed was agony. She answered his calls in that same calm, careful tone. She typed his memos, arranged his meetings, smiled when necessary. But every time his voice softened, every time his eyes lingered too long, her resolve cracked a little more. At night, she tried to reason with herself. He defended you. He's not cruel. But he's still your boss. Don't be foolish. Yet, foolishness had already taken root in her chest. On Wednesday, Ethan announced an unexpected decision. I'm taking 2 days off, he said as he closed his laptop. Amara looked up from her notes, surprised. You don't take days off. I do now. She hesitated. Should I cancel your meetings? Reschedule them. His tone was clipped, but not unkind. You're in charge until Monday. Her pen stilled. Me? You've earned it. She searched his face for sarcasm, there was none. Thank you, she said softly. He nodded once, grabbed his coat, and walked out. The office felt wrong without him. Amara told herself she enjoyed the quiet, no commanding presence hovering over her, no heart-thudding tension each time he spoke her name. But by the second afternoon, she found herself glancing at his empty chair. At the mug he always left half full. At the way sunlight hit his desk exactly where he used to stand. And she hated herself for missing him. Meanwhile, Ethan wasn't resting. He drove to his lake house outside the city, a cold, sterile retreat he rarely visited. He poured himself coffee and stared at the still water, trying to understand the chaos inside him. He'd built his life on order. Discipline. Predictability. Then Amara Lewis had walked in and turned all of that into noise. Every word she said echoed like truth he hadn't asked for. Every look she gave reminded him what real human connection felt like. He couldn't remember the last time someone had challenged him without fear. He couldn't remember the last time someone had looked at him with both anger and care. And that scared him more than losing money ever could. That night, Amara's phone buzzed, a message from Ethan. Ethan, did the Carter report come in? Amara, yes. Everything's in your email. Ethan, thank you. She stared at the screen. The professional exchange should have ended there. But then. Ethan, how's the office without me? Her heart skipped. She typed, then deleted, quieter. Typed again, efficient, sir. Deleted it. Finally, she wrote, it's functioning, Mr. Vale. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Ethan, good. She smiled, shaking her head. The man could command empires but not manage a conversation. Still, her smile stayed longer than it should have. The next morning, Ethan returned earlier than planned. He stepped into the office just as Amara was giving instructions to a junior analyst. She didn't see him at first. She was laughing, relaxed, confident. He froze, watching her. The sound of her laughter, warm and real, made something ache in his chest. When she finally noticed him, her laughter stopped. "Mr. Vale. I thought you were away till Monday. I changed my mind." "You seem to do that a lot lately," she said before she could stop herself. He raised an eyebrow. "Is that criticism, Ms. Lewis?" "Observation." A faint smirk tugged at his mouth. "Noted." He walked past her, but she could feel his presence linger like static in the air. Later that evening, she went to his office to drop off his finalized reports. He was standing by the window again, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. He looked human. Tired. Real. "I didn't expect you to come back early," she said softly. "I didn't expect to miss this place." "You mean your empire?" He turned toward her, something unreadable in his eyes. "No. I meant," he stopped himself. "Never mind." "What?" "Nothing." "Say it." He met her gaze, and for a second, the silence between them spoke louder than words. Then he looked away. "I thought distance would make things simpler." Her breath caught. "Simpler?" He nodded slowly. "But it didn't." Amara swallowed hard. "Mr. Vale." "Ethan," he said quietly. That single word changed everything. Her voice trembled. "You shouldn't." "I know." He smiled faintly, the sadness in it unbearable. "But I can't help it." She took a step back, shaking her head. "This can't happen." He nodded again, the faintest flicker of pain in his eyes. "I know that too." And just like that, the walls between them rebuilt themselves, taller, colder, stronger. That night, both lay awake in separate worlds, wondering if the silence between them was protection, or punishment. Have you ever tried to distance yourself from someone, only to realize that ignoring your feelings made everything harder? Tell us how it changed you. "I used to think love was a weakness," he said quietly. "Something that made people foolish." "And now?" she asked softly. He exhaled. "Now I think maybe it's the only thing that makes us human." Amara smiled faintly. "You sound like a man who's changing." He turned to her fully. "Maybe that's your fault." She froze at the tenderness in his voice. "Ethan." He shook his head. "Don't look away." "Not tonight." She met his gaze, eyes glistening. "I've been fighting this for so long." "So have I." Silence stretched, long, electric, and full of truth. Then he whispered, "Tell me to stop." She didn't. He leaned in slowly, hesitating an inch away from her lips. The air between them vibrated with the weight of everything unsaid. Then finally, she closed the distance. The kiss was soft at first, uncertain, then deepened, like two people remembering how to breathe. When they pulled apart, neither spoke. Amara's hand lingered against his jaw. "You'll regret this tomorrow," she murmured. He smiled faintly. "You underestimate how long I've wanted this." Her eyes shimmered. "So what now?" He brushed a thumb across her cheek. "Now we stop pretending." Later that night, lying awake in her room, Amara stared at the ceiling, her heart still racing. For the first time in years, she didn't feel invisible. For the first time ever, she felt seen. And that terrified her more than anything. Have you ever had a moment where a wall you built to protect yourself finally cracked open, and someone saw the real you? Did it scare you or set you free? By Monday morning, the world looked ordinary again. The retreat had ended, and the city swallowed them whole, Vale Towers glass and steel rising like a fortress against everything soft and human. Ethan's driver dropped him off at the building entrance. Reporters were already hovering, questions about a leaked merger rumor swirling in the air. He brushed past them, his expression cool, practiced. But inside, his thoughts weren't on business. They were on her. The way she'd smiled by the fire. The way she'd said his name. The way she'd kissed him like she wasn't supposed to. He wanted to see her. He wanted, no, needed, to make sure what they'd shared was real outside that retreat bubble. When the elevator doors opened onto his floor, she was there, already at her desk, typing quietly, the morning light catching in her curls. For a moment, he just watched her, unseen. His chest tightened. God, she's beautiful. Then he stepped forward. Morning, Louis. Her fingers froze on the keyboard, just briefly. Good morning, Mr. Vale. He frowned. Mr. Vale. Back to titles already. Could I see you in my office for a moment? She hesitated. Of course. When she entered, he closed the door gently. We should talk about what happened. She nodded, her face composed. Yes, we should. Good, he said carefully. Because I don't want you to think that it meant something, she interrupted quietly. His head jerked up. What? She forced a small smile. It was a moment, Ethan. A beautiful one. But we both know what happens if people find out. You're my boss. I'm your employee. It could destroy everything we've worked for. He stared at her, thrown by how steady her voice was. So that's it? You're just pretending it didn't happen? Her composure cracked slightly, voice trembling. I'm protecting us. You more than me. He stepped closer, anger and hurt mixing in his chest. No, you're protecting yourself. That's not fair. Isn't it? You think I care about gossip? You think I'd let anyone? You don't get it, she snapped suddenly, her voice echoing in the office. You'll recover from a scandal. You're Ethan Vale. The billionaire who can do no wrong. But me? I'll be the woman who slept her way to the top. Her words hit like a slap. He went still, guilt burning through him. Amara. Her eyes glistened. Don't make this harder than it already is. He clenched his jaw. So what? We just go back to pretending? She swallowed. We have to. Something in his chest cracked then, something he didn't know how to fix. He nodded stiffly. Fine. If that's what you want. She turned toward the door, but before she left, she said quietly, It's not what I want, Ethan. It's what I need. Then she was gone. For the rest of the week, Ethan threw himself into work with brutal precision. Meetings. Calls. Deals. Anything to drown out the echo of her voice. But it didn't work. Every time he looked up, he saw her through the glass, professional, calm, unreadable. The same woman who'd once kissed him like he was her only heir. He hated it. He hated how much he missed her. Friday came, and with it, chaos. The merger rumor had escalated, investors were panicking. A confidential email had leaked, one containing sensitive company data. Ethan stormed into the conference room, slamming the folder down. Find out who sent this. His head of security hesitated. Sir, we already traced the account. It was logged in under Amara Lewis. The room went silent. Ethan's blood went cold. That's impossible. She was the last to access the files. He stood frozen, the words clawing at his mind. No. Not her. Minutes later, he found her at her desk, typing quietly as always. He dropped the folder in front of her. Explain this. Her eyes widened. What is? Don't play dumb. You sent confidential files to the press? What? Of course not. He leaned in, voice low, sharp. Then why does your login show as the source? I don't know. Maybe someone. Don't, he snapped. Don't lie to me. Her jaw trembled. You think I'd do that to you? After everything? His silence was answer enough. She stared at him for a long, agonizing moment, then whispered, You really don't know me at all, do you? He swallowed, guilt flashing across his face, but pride won. I know betrayal when I see it. Amara's voice broke. You don't know betrayal, Ethan. You only know how to expect it. She grabbed her things, eyes shining with unshed tears. You wanted a reason to stop feeling. Congratulations. You just found it. And she walked out. That night, Ethan sat in his dark penthouse, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him. The security team later confirmed the truth, her account had been hacked. She was innocent. He closed his eyes, head in his hands. God, what have I done? He thought of her voice, her laugh, her touch. The way she'd looked at him when she said, You don't know betrayal, you only expect it. She was right. He'd become his father. Cold. Distrustful. Afraid to love. And now he'd lost the only person who ever saw through that. Across town, Amara sat on her small couch, still in her work clothes, tears streaming silently down her face. Her phone buzzed, Ethan's name lighting the screen. She stared at it. Her heart screamed answer it. Her pride whispered don't. She pressed ignore. And the silence that followed hurt worse than any storm. Have you ever pushed someone away because fear or pride told you it was safer that way? Did you ever get the chance to make it right? 3 days. That's how long the silence lasted. 3 days since Amara had walked out of Vale Tower. 3 days since Ethan's world had felt like glass, polished on the surface, cracked beneath the shine. He hadn't eaten. Barely slept. His office felt colder without her laughter echoing faintly through the halls. Even his assistant's desk outside his door looked wrong, empty, like a missing heartbeat. On the 4th morning, he sat at his desk staring at the phone. He'd typed and deleted the same message 20 times. Amara, please let me explain. Amara, I was wrong. Amara, I can't do this without you. He deleted them all. Pride still whispered the old lies, you're Ethan Vale. You don't chase. You don't apologize. But the ache in his chest argued louder, you're also a man who destroyed the only person who ever loved you. Across the city, Amara sat by her mother's hospital bed, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. Her mother had collapsed from fatigue 2 days ago, a combination of overwork and worry. Now, Amara sat holding her mother's hand, watching the monitor's steady beep. You're quiet, baby, her mother said softly. Amara smiled weakly. Just tired, Mama. You've been tired since you were 5, her mother teased gently. Then, after a pause, you left that job, didn't you? Amara's throat tightened. Yeah. Her mother nodded knowingly. Because of a man. Amara blinked, startled. How? I raised you, Amara Lewis. I can tell when my daughter's heart is breaking. Amara's eyes filled. He didn't trust me, Mama. I thought he saw me, really saw me, but when it mattered, he didn't. Her mother squeezed her hand weakly. People love the way they were taught. Some are still learning. Amara swallowed hard. What if he never learns? Then you'll still survive. But if he does, and if he's brave enough to tell you, promise me you'll listen. Amara nodded, tears spilling over. That night, Ethan finally made a decision. He left his office, got into his car, and drove. The city lights blurred through the windshield, neon streaks mixing with rain. His hands gripped the wheel tighter as he rehearsed what he'd say. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I trust you. I love you. Simple words. The hardest he'd ever have to speak. He arrived at her apartment close to midnight. Her building was small, tucked between a diner and a laundromat. The opposite of his penthouse, real, human, alive. He climbed the stairs, heart pounding. When she opened the door, she looked stunned. Ethan? He exhaled, trying to steady himself. I know it's late. It's past late. I just need 5 minutes. Her expression was unreadable. You had a week. I know. Silence stretched between them. She crossed her arms. What do you want? He looked at her, really looked, and his voice cracked. You. She froze. He stepped closer. Amara, I was wrong. About everything. About you. About trust. About love. She shook her head. Don't. Please, he said, his voice raw. Let me finish this time. She said nothing, but she didn't close the door either. I've spent my whole life pushing people away because it was easier than being disappointed, he continued. And then you showed up and saw through every lie I told myself. You made me feel alive again, and I was too damn scared to admit it. Her eyes glistened. Ethan, you accused me of betraying you. I know. His voice broke. I'll never forgive myself for that. You had every right to walk away. Then why are you here? He smiled sadly. Because walking away from you feels worse. She turned, trying to hide her trembling lip. You think you can just show up and fix it? No. But I can show up and try. The rain outside grew heavier, echoing against the window. Amara finally looked at him. You hurt me. I know. You made me believe I was nothing more than another disposable person in your life. He stepped closer, eyes burning. You're the only person I've never been able to replace. She exhaled shakily, tears spilling freely now. You say that now. But what happens when people start talking? When they say I don't belong beside you? Then let them talk, he said fiercely. Because I'd rather face the world with you than live another day without you. She searched his face, looking for doubt, and found none. Ethan. He took her hand gently. Amara, I trust you. And I love you. Not in the convenient, quiet way that fits into my schedule. I love you in the way that terrifies me. In the way that makes me want to be better. Her breath hitched. Say it again. I love you. She broke, tears, laughter, disbelief all mixing. You really are terrible at timing, you know that? He smiled faintly. I'm learning. She stepped forward and rested her forehead against his chest. You're late, Ethan. I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it. They stood there for a long time, wrapped in each other as the rain poured outside. For once, neither spoke about the past or the risk. For once, they simply were. And in that quiet, both made their choice. To stop running. To stop hiding. To finally let love in. Have you ever been faced with a choice between pride and love? Did you choose to protect your heart, or open it? 6 months later. The morning sun flooded the New Vale Foundation headquarters, a sleek, open space filled with plants, light, and laughter. It didn't look like the empire Ethan Vale once ruled. It looked alive. Amara walked through the glass doors, coffee in one hand, tablet in the other. She wore her usual confidence, graceful, grounded, untouchable. Yet the small gold bracelet on her wrist, a gift from Ethan, hinted at something softer beneath the steel. Employees greeted her warmly now. Ms. Lewis, good morning. No longer whispers, no longer suspicion, just respect. Because the world knew her story. And they knew the truth. She was no longer Ethan Vale's assistant. She was his partner. In business. And in life. In his office, simpler now, less fortress, more sanctuary, Ethan stood by the window, watching her through the glass. He still remembered the day he'd announced her promotion to co-director of the Vale Foundation. No one has given more heart, more vision, or more truth to this company than Amara Lewis, he'd said in front of the entire board. And if any of you can't see that, then you don't belong here. The applause had been thunderous. But the best part had been the way she'd looked at him afterward, half proud, half in love, fully home. Now she stepped into his office, smiling. "You're staring again." He turned, grinning. "I prefer to call it strategic admiration." "Strategic, huh?" He shrugged. "You inspire my best work." She crossed her arms playfully. "Flattery before 9 a.m.? Who are you and what have you done with Ethan Vale?" He laughed softly. "He retired. Too tired of pretending not to care." Her eyes softened. "You've changed." He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "No, you changed me." "Dangerous habit I have," she teased gently. He smirked. "And one I'll never quit." Later that afternoon, they attended a press event for the Foundation's new scholarship fund, a program supporting underprivileged youth, especially young black women entering business. As the cameras flashed, Amara stepped to the podium. Her speech was calm, sincere, but her closing words silenced the room. Every dream deserves to be seen, not through the lens of what the world expects, but through the truth of who we are. This foundation isn't just about opportunity. It's about redemption. For those who were told they weren't enough, and for those still learning to believe they are. Her eyes flicked toward Ethan, who stood off stage, pride softening his usual composure. When she stepped down, he met her with quiet applause and whispered, "You were perfect." She smiled. "You believed in me." "I always did," he said. "Even before I knew how to show it." That night, the event ended with a private dinner for the staff. After everyone left, Amara and Ethan lingered in the empty ballroom. Soft jazz played faintly from hidden speakers. He extended a hand. "Dance with me." She laughed. "You hate dancing." "I hate not trying." She smiled and placed her hand in his. "Then try." They moved slowly, bodies swaying gently under the dim chandeliers. The city glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. "I used to think love was something I didn't deserve," he murmured. She rested her head against his chest. "And now?" "Now I think it's something I was always meant to learn, from you." Her eyes shimmered. "And I used to think love was something I had to hide. You taught me it's something I can live." He kissed her forehead softly. "I'll spend every day proving that you were worth every storm." She looked up at him, tears in her eyes but a smile on her lips. "And I'll spend every day reminding you you're more than your scars." He whispered, "So this is what peace feels like." "It's love," she said simply. "The kind that doesn't need to hide anymore." The music faded. They didn't stop dancing. Because this wasn't a fairy tale ending. It was a beginning, built on forgiveness, trust, and the courage to be seen. Outside, the city glowed like a reflection of their journey, chaotic, alive, beautiful in its imperfection. And somewhere between laughter and quiet breaths, Ethan whispered, "Do you ever think about that first day in my office?" Amara smiled. "When you accused me of hating you?" He chuckled. "Yes." "What about it?" He brushed his thumb along her jaw. "I think that was the day I started falling in love with you." She tilted her head, eyes warm. "Took you long enough to admit it." He smiled. "I'm a slow learner." She grinned softly. "Then I guess I'll just have to keep teaching you." And when their lips met again, it wasn't the desperate kiss of two people fighting the world, it was the quiet, certain promise of two people who had finally found home in each other. Do you believe love can truly change people? Have you ever seen someone's heart soften because of it? Tell me in the comments, your story might inspire someone else to believe again. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I'm pretty sure you enjoyed it. Kindly click on your screen to enjoy the next one.